Hey guys, so this is my 1966 Dodge Coronet 500. This is actually a family heirloom. I inherited it from my grandfather, and now it's mine, and it's my duty as the car guy family member to get her back on the road. So when it comes to these Mopars, I honestly don't really know much about them. I'm more of a Ford guy, and even before that, I'm actually a Honda guy. But as I get older here, I've been getting into more of the classics. So this is a 4-speed manual flavor, manual steering, manual brakes. And it's actually, obviously, it has a big personal connection with this. My mom, when she was like growing up, she grew up in this back seat, and now her son is the one that's actually bringing this back on the road. She's a convertible. I know. I'd prefer a hardtop myself, but we're going to make do with what we got. This is a family heirloom. Who cares? And it's a manual. Apparently the autos in these are actually pretty awesome, but I'm happy I got a clutch pedal to bang gears with. Sorry, quick chicken break. Dwayne saw me come home, so that means it's time for me to give him his daily dose of food. Oh no, he a chonky boy. He a chonky boy. Yeah, he knows what's up. All right. Here's your snack. Ready? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. He's a broiler. And she's definitely a survivor. She isn't rust-free, but I'd say right there is the worst of the rot. Or so I've heard. And she has glass packs on it because my grandpa liked to party. According to my grandmother, my grandpa blew up the 383 Hemi in it or whatever. I don't know if the 426 actually was the only Hemi yet. I don't know. See, I don't know anything about these Dodges. Dalton, calm down. But so that is something we're gonna have to figure out what motor is actually in here. Is it a 318? Is it actually a 383? It's supposedly a non-Hemi, and I have no idea how to identify these. And opening the hood here, yeah, whatever that is. So apparently this is has the original carb on it, which is like a Carter 4-barrel or whatever. So there's that. But yeah, not the original engine. I have been able to turn this engine over by hand by pressing on the fan here. So I know she's not locked up. Obviously no power brakes. The brakes are bad on this, is what I heard. They are shot. When they went to park it, it blew out the brakes just after a honeymoon trip. So there is that. But otherwise, she's all complete and random parked and just needs brakes supposedly. So what do you guys think this engine is? I have no idea how to identify it. I did read online that there's like a VIN number or whatever underneath the timing cover in the front. Or not a VIN, but like an identification number, but I'm not sure. Let's just set the hood now and get her off the trailer. Oh, and I will add before I get her off, I don't know if that's factory or not, but that's sick. But inside is relatively complete. Obviously a lot of anti-rodent things, but I don't think the critters have really gotten into this. I'd like to correct myself. This actually hasn't sat since 90. It's sat since 2014, so 10 years abandoned. Let's bring her back. Hey guys, so my grandfather was a deputy sheriff for about 40 years in our small southeast Minnesota rural county, and here are just some images of his cop cars that he had throughout the years. I think he had more, but these aren't all the ones we nabbed pictures of. And here's also some of his other toys, the Eldorado that replaced the Coronet, the Farmall F20 that he used for snow removal. Fun fact, the brakes didn't work on that, so he just dropped the loader in order to get to stop. But anyways, so I consider this video a tribute and a thank you to my grandfather because the interests that I have greatly reflect off of his. So thank you guys for continuing to watch this and enjoy the rest of the video. Yep. Nope. You don't. Just knock that off, please. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better. There we go. Oh, is that true? Well, the work on this begins today. I was actually going to start on the track car today and let this sit on the back burner for a little bit. I'm not used to these. Oh, there we go. But it's raining, and this is taking up space in my shop, so the logical thing is to get this running to pull it out of the shop with no working brakes. So the neighbor came over the other day. He's a big Mopar guy. And he was telling me that the identification numbers for these blocks are either behind the distributor or like down yonder or whatnot. We're strongly thinking it's a 383, but we'll figure out what it is as time goes on. So I jammed 12 volts on her yesterday, and just as soon, like not even off the trailer yet, and stuff started smoking over here, so that's a great start. So I think the first thing I'm going to do here is just get to cleaning up my shop so I can start working on this bad boy, because this has been a project a long time in the coming, and I am just so stoked and excited to be working on this. Got the shop cleaned up pretty well, so now I can feel like I have a more cleaner space working on this. Forget this side, I don't care about this side. So I think the first order of business I'm going to do is clean up my grounds, because that was one sparky boy, smoky boy earlier, and I don't want to deal with that. Safety. Oh well. So I figured out why it was smoking. You know, why does a black wire run to the starter? Did they run the ground behind like the starter bolt or something? You know, and then I was like, oh, she's the reverse color flavor, so sure, that makes sense. After cleaning off the 3 layers of paint on the bolts there, it looks like there was like a neon green once. I was able to, oh, now that I moved, I got a good ground connection, so I think, definitely the reason it sparked is because I hook up the terminals backwards, so I'll jam a battery in this the right way now and see if we get any electronics working and see if we can let any more smoke out. So red to negative and black to positive, because that makes sense. Oh, she's a little wallered out too. That's good. That's how you know it's fine. See if we got lights and whatnot. In fact, these Johns are so old, is like any of the accessories even actually hooked up to the column? Okay, whatever. Let's pull them lights out. A little wiggle maybe? Turned on before. Well, hopefully I didn't fry everything when I put everything backwards in. That's a good way to start this build. Well, upon just getting in here and pulling linkages and moving stuff and seeing if the cigarette lighter works, because I know Grandpa used that heavily, I leaned on this and half scared myself to death. But at least the horn works. Kinda. Yeah, there we go. Well, after Dwayne came and pointed some things out to me, I figured out the source of the issue. Fusible link blew right here. That's where all the smoke was coming from yesterday. So that's unfortunate, but I'm just going to twist them back together and she'll probably be mint, just to see if we can get some lights and whatnot. So I'm glad that link did its job, but it's just a shame that happened. I feel like I should have knew better, but whatever, you live and learn. Alright, fusible link has been professionally replaced. Let's see if we can get some sparkages out of this. Oh yeah, that's pretty hoss baller. Do the taillights work though? Even the license plate lights work. So lights work. Flashers, maybe. Let's see if the cigarette lighter works. That's important. Oh.
Conley was done with the whole situation here.
AM radio works. Voltage gauge works. I don't know what that clicking noise was. Or, that. Oh, she's hot, boys. Mint. Looks like Grandpa liked to have the tachometer to Party Town as well. Fuel gauge, that might work. Apparently this has a slow fuel leak, and I'm not gonna bump it yet. I know I turned it over by hand, but I want to verify that again. I'm not gonna pull the wipers too, because the windshield's kind of dusty and I don't want to scratch it up. And it is just amazing how thick the glass is on these old Johns. I'm used to my Japanese stuff. It's just crazy. Do we get dash lights? If these have dash lights? Blinkers? Oh, we got right blinker. That's mad. Oh, it even says right. Left blinker, not so happy. What about high beams? Oh, that's stuck down now, so that's good. Well, I'll say it's pretty sick. What about the choke linkages? Or is that the choke linkage? Or is that the choke? I don't know. Whatever. We'll get to it. Oh, and I just realized, let's have like, I feel like I'm sitting in a boat. Joke not intended. Oh, that's sick. Well, the bulb ain't doing bulb things, but you could see the DC gauge kind of moving up and down there. And then when I turn it to left blinker, I got no light there, but the DC gauge is doing its thing, so that's telling me it works. Suppose I could just get out and look. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, she works great. Don't know about the high beams though, but that doesn't matter right now anyways. Well guys, I'm sorry. For those of you that are experienced with these cars, you're probably cringing. Apparently the tops on these are electronically controlled, and I just forced it down, but it's fine. Everything's fine. I know these cars really well. I will say the steering wheel has a little bit of play, but I don't know if this is like a Ford and you could just tighten the rag joint, but that's fine. Let's pop that air cleaner off and see what we got to work with. Well, I got the air cleaner off, and it's not a Carter, it's actually an old Holly, so that's pretty cool. My knowledge on these are limited, but it's still pretty sick, so let's get this all vacuumed off. I checked the crankcase, it's full of oil, it's good, clean oil. This has coolant in it. Coolant's just fine, it's been holding it like that for 10 years. I don't smell gas, it's not pumping gas, which is either a good or a bad thing. Hopefully these aren't kerfuffled, but hopefully we'll get this to bark off today. I'll fill up these bowls after we do a little premature maintenance here. I'm going to turn this over by hand again, just to make sure that nothing's seized up on the bottom end. I'd say about a year ago I did a full rotation on this, but I just want to be safe again. I should pop off the valve covers and look at the push rods, but I might not get around to that today. It's only been sitting 10 years. Actually, before I do everything here, my ADHD wants me to test to see if we got voltage at the coil. I just have it turned in accessory right now, so let's see if we get any voltage. Multimeter hooked up, right on the positive terminal there. And we got 7 volts, so and I think I smell something burning, so that's good. That means you know electricity's flowing. All right. ADHD's taking over. Let's see if this goes back up. Oh, that's baller. I probably actually can't do that with my low ceiling, so never mind. Oh. Wow. All right. That's faster than my Civic. that's not too bad. I honestly thought that'd be rotted out completely. Another thing to nod to the originality of this vehicle is the actual vehicle credit card in there. I'm not going to pull it out because there's a gentleman's name and address on there, so for the sake of their privacy, I'll leave it there, but that's pretty cool. Leave in the comments if you guys know exactly what this is. I'm too young to know, I guess. I'm only 24, but I'm guessing it was like you go to the Dodge dealer and it's like, I want an oil change, put it on my tab, and that's what it was for? I'm not sure. Anyways, let's get going to working on this. I want to hear her bark before I gotta go to work. Well, I wasn't sure on socket size, and I have right size sockets, but 32mm 12-point fits on there loosely, so we'll give that a shot. Oh yeah. Well, anyways, I'm just gonna keep turning this and see if we can get a full rotation. Well, I turned her a full rotation and some, and I can't verify it as compression. It actually sounded very good. Very easy to turn over, wasn't stuck up at all anywhere. So next thing we're going to get to here is probably disconnecting some of the fuel lines, so when it's actually running, if there's anything still left in the lines, we're not pumping old bad gas into the carb. And also I'm probably going to disconnect this distributor wire here, hopefully it doesn't break, or from ignition coil wire. Because I don't want this to fire right away. I want to turn over a little bit, build up oil pressure, lubricate everything, so then when I plug it in, she's raring to go and ready to wake up after 10 years, so I'm excited. While I was laying underneath there, loving life, this thing is just beautiful. This has been a Minnesota car, I believe its whole life actually. If not the majority of it at least, and it is just very well taken care of. I mean, she's got spider webs and whatnot on it, but it's fine. I mean, look at that radiator support. I guess the video makes it look a little bad, but it is actually very, very solid. My family always has hated salt on our roads, so I'm pretty sure Grandpa was no exception and made sure this thing did not touch salt, and it was just his summer cruiser when he wasn't driving the Eldorado. Alrighty, so we have the ignition coil unplugged, so when I turn this over it can build oil pressure. I got my trusty funnel here that I can put inside the two vents for the bowls here. Sure. So I can put two-stroke gas in there, and if any of you guys have watched a revival video on YouTube, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Two-stroke gas is really good for the top end on these engines because there's oil in it. So when these engines have been sitting for a while, that oil really helps get that arthritis out of her bones, if you will, and make sure nothing gets hurt. Well, trusty funnel wasn't really proving to be too trusty, so I took trusty gear oil bottle, and now this I can actually stick inside the vent, and that'll make filling that bowl up a lot easier. Oh yeah, she's chugging like a college student now. That's how you know she's good. This is pretty awesome. Got accelerator pump. Well, let's get her turned over a little bit and see if we can build some oil pressure, and then see if she'll bark off. Ignition. Alright. Got a little bit of a gallop, but hopefully that comes around. I already know she's gonna bark off, I just feel it. So let's just sit and admire how clean this floor is. And then after it's been firing for a bit, let's see how much crud it just blows out of it right all over the Samurai. I'll just keep upping it, it's warm. Alright, first start after 10 years. He wants to go. That phone does not like hanging up there. I really need a tripod, guys. This was my holding the phone there, so I'm sorry if you were swinging as I was turning it over. We'll let that starter cool down for a moment and whatnot. Take two. That felt good. Oh yeah, I smell burning. Probably the starter, but that's okay. That's just how you know you're really warming it back up. Well, upon filling this up, it started just pouring out of the, oh, I can't remember what those are called. The something horns or whatever, where the fuel shoots in from the accelerator pump. So she is way over flooded right now. So I'm just going to let her sit open for a bit, let her evaporate on out, and then get back to trying to turn her over. Probably get some more juice on her too. Straight out the gates, gave her a little mayo. Well, she's got a little bit of a limp, a little bit of a tick, but she's idling on her own. Is she pumping fuel? Oh yeah. That looks yellow, but not horrible. Oh, we got a solid runner here, boys. Now she's cleaning up. What a mean sounding unit. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that. Spitting a little out, too. Oh. Oh. I gotta get that fuel tank hooked up, but I gotta go to work. Let's just try turning the key again. Oh yeah. Let's see, is that alternator charge? Oh yeah. That's awesome. We got a runner, boys and gals. Beautiful. Well, I got her running. I hooked up her own fuel tank and everything because I was feeling pretty good about it. And then this started profusely spraying on the side. I was a little suspicious of this. This is like some old school JB Weld. And sure enough, yeah, that wasn't good. That was spraying all over the headers and everything. Glad I caught that. We got a big problem though. So this was pumping gas out of the tank, and I don't know where to put all this gas. You know, I can't just dump it on the ground. That'd be hurting the environment. Oh, I forgot I got a recycling station right across the yard here. Yep, you know, Just doing my part to save the environment. This one's for you, polar bears. This one's for you. Morning, y'all. Thought I'd work on the Coronet before I went to bed here. I work third shift, so you know. Been up since yesterday. Found out this is a 6210 spread bore, so basically that means she's fuel efficient in the front, but party in the back. And that's all I know. I did a little research on these last night. But anyways, so she's a double pumper, obviously, and it was just spraying fuel profusely out this like old JB Weld epoxy plug here. You can actually see where it's sprayed out on there. So anyways, I'm just gonna follow suit. I was gonna do it the right way and take out the old steel plug and put in a new one, but I said to heck with it, and I'm just gonna put JB Weld over it. I mean, probably worked for a long time, so might as well just do it again. So I'm gonna get that on there, and then hopefully by the time I wake up, it'll be cured, and this thing will be ready to be tuned, because apparently this was put together by a carb professional, according to my grandmother and whatnot, but I still want to have my go at it, you know, tune it, set the floats and everything, and I look forward to it. I never tuned a double pumper, only a single jingles, so it'll be pretty fun. Alright, JB Weld has been applied. Let's come back to this after I wake up and see if she holds fuel pressure. Good afternoon, folks. It's been about 8 hours. Let's see if that JB Weld's dried. Well, upon feeling it, it's got kind of a putty-like texture, so we'll just let it be for a little bit longer here and then get right on back to it. Well, you know, I was going to get more work done on the truck. Then it started raining, so I think nature wants me to work on the Coronet after all. Well, I gave her a pump, you know, and pulled the choke back. Good thing that works, because we're going to need that, obviously. Just going to set you guys down on the battery here. Let me know if this starts profusely leaking gas. That'll be much appreciated. Well, I don't see any gas, so that's good. Well, now that we mitigated that gas leakage issue, let's see if we get one back here. I know she still got some bad gas in there, but I poured some good gas too. So let's just give her a little bit of the good stuff, you know, and see if she'll come back around when she's firing. Maybe she'll be able to burn up that bad gas. I don't know. Also, now that it's significantly flooded, we're just going to hold her wide open and hope for the best. She's idling and hitting on all four. I'll admit, kind of high on the RPM, but just gonna let her eat there for a moment, pull her out of the shop, and get the top back on so the chickens don't jump in it. Oh, that sounds good. Well, I'm not gonna get her pulled out yet, because look at that. Flooding right out the vent. Got to see what that's about. And if you look right down there, it is just dumping gas out of those boosters. That is not good for the cylinder wall whatsoever. So that's telling me that the float is definitely set wrong on this. But on the bright side, At least we heard it run, so that's pretty awesome. So anyways, I'm going to adjust that float level and we're going to give this another shot. Okay guys, after a bit of research, I found out, not a big surprise, but this is an older style Holley carburetor, just because you can tell, obviously there's no float adjustments. Versus, here's a newer style Holley carburetor that I had on my 351, and this has the center float adjustment right here. I believe these are what are called solid float style floats, and actually these are like tractors or lawnmowers where you actually set the float height by taking this out and bending the actual linkage, so you can actually adjust the float height via just bending it. And I'm not sure the proper way to actually set the float on these besides what I just told you. I assume you go in there with like a feeler gauge or something, but I am not going to do that. I'm actually just going to whack this a few times and see if that fixes it. Lightly. She's old. She survived this long. I got to keep fighting these guys off too because they want to hop in the Coronet, and I am not about that. Look at them little talons I got. See, look, these guys snuck in without me even realizing it. So I'm just going to rebuild this quick in hopes that this does something. And get the back too, why not? And then if this doesn't fix things, I might try and get compressed air and blow that out too. I don't know. Just see what happens. Well, so far so good. Just let her eat for a bit and see what happens. Well guys, she's been running pretty good now. And I'm getting fuel out of both. This belt ain't liking life, but knock that off. But anyways, you can tell when I rev it, looks like we got a leak from the diaphragm area on the accelerator pump, so not super worried about that right now, but I think this carburetor is due for a rebuild. Kind of a shame because she was rebuilt apparently just before she was parked, but oh well, that's the way she goes. And my hammer trick worked great. Oh, she sounds gorgeous. So here's what we got. She runs, but she leaks gas. We know the brakes supposedly on this are shot, so let's take a look at the single pot of death quick here. And yep, I can verify. She ain't got no juice in her, so try and pour some .3 down it and see where it leaks. Well, brake fluid's going in. You can tell it's bubbling a little bit, so it's going somewhere. Now, do we have a leak on the ground? There's something right there, but maybe that's just condensation from the exhaust. I'll just say that to make myself feel better. I'll go pump the brakes and see if we have any new puddles form. Oh, that's awesome. Sadly, the letters wore off on that. And this one too. I'll leave it there though. Gotta love the old schoolness. Alrighty. Well, at least it comes back up. That's probably just a spring doing that though. Let's go look at the cylinder. Oh, I feel resistance. Well, I've looked on the ground a few times and I haven't seen any leakages yet, but wow, that is disgusting. I just hope these bleeder screws crack loose on these drums, because knowing my luck, they won't. And then I'm going to have to be tearing up the brakes anyways. But, on a brighter note, it stopped raining, so that's cool. Well, I haven't popped the line yet, and it's building a little pressure, so I feel safe enough to drive it on outside at least here and get the convertible top up while I can, because I can't in my low roof shop. So let's see if it'll go into gear and drive out a whole 10 feet for the first time in 10 years. Well, the brakes acquire pumping, and so does the gas pedal from all that leaking gas, but she pulled out. Let's get that convertible top on and pull it right back on in. Sure. So yeah, she keeps dying on me, and I'll show you what the issue is. Remember that expert repair I made to the fusible link? Yeah, that doesn't help. And also these bad battery connections, but I wiggle them a little bit and she typically comes around. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm sure glad I just got it back in, because sure enough, it started raining again. Oh well, rain is a good thing. Anyways, so she runs, she sort of stops, and she looks cool, and the fusible link is a pain. So we know things that we got to do. I got to fix the brakes. Obviously, I got to pump it. You know, there's air in there. I got to crack the bleeder screws. So I'm going to get this in the air, get PB on those bleeders, let it soak. Gonna have to take this carburetor off and rebuild it. This is a 650 CFM carburetor, by the way, with the limited knowledge I learned last night. And also, I can't remember the other thing, but the gauges work. The coolant gauge was registering just fine, and I can feel, yeah, she's definitely getting hot. She's definitely flowing coolant. And yeah, let's feel these radiator hoses. Yeah. Yeah, close enough. Sure. Got her flipped over, just getting a look at it. Could definitely tell we were leaking from that accelerator pump diaphragm, but would you look at that? I wonder if that's where our high idle is coming from. And these rubber hoses also seem to be pretty shot, so we will see. That really didn't give much sealing ability there. So far, looking inside the front float here, she's got grime, she's got varnish. I'm gonna let these soak in gasoline overnight, but I don't hear any gas inside that brass float. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, so this is how you set your float height. You bend this tab here, and that changes, you know, where that needle and seat seats. So it looks like it seats about right there. So when the float's there, it looks like it seats and doesn't let any more fuel through. So that's pretty cool. Old brass floats. I'm going to take this guy off and see how the rear, big old barrels, see how that one looks. That's awesome. And here's that metering valve right here. Definitely a little like dusty. Pretty sure that's from the ethanol fuel. And then that's the power valve and the jets. So far, so good. They don't look clogged up. Well, obviously I know they weren't because it was running. But let's get this back guy off now because see how she looks. Rear bowl. Yeah, these get a little seized. Give me a little bit. Yeah, she was taut on there, but just grimy. Anyways, got her on off. Same story. A little less varnish, but still varnishy. The nice thing is, this is fine too. I'm going to blow out those jets, but I'm going to obviously soak them in gas overnight too. So far, all seals haven't torn. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to get a rebuild kit for it anyways, but that just kind of solidifies that this carburetor was in fact rebuilt before the car was actually, parked up. And so far, the only thing I saw that was actually wrong with this was the actual accelerator pump in the front that was just leaking from the seal there. But it's like, I'm going to take it apart and rebuild it because 1, why not? 2, learn a skill. And 3, I just like taking stuff apart. This is the first time I've taken a carburetor apart, but I've watched so many YouTube videos on revivals. I know enough to be dangerous. Hey guys, it's been a couple days. Carburetor's still soaking in gas, and while that's happening, I'm gonna head over here to the Coronet and hopefully get the brakes working. And I would like to elaborate. The brakes do work, but you gotta pump them a lot, so there's definitely air in them. Can't remember if I tested that on camera or not for you guys. So there's that. So we're just gonna get her jacked up in the air, crack the bleeder screws loose, probably break all the screws, and have to get new brake cylinders anyways, so better late than never. And the nice thing too, so we got it in the air, I can look for my air leak right there and whatnot. And also get a better idea of what it looks like under here. And yep, doesn't disappoint, just surface rust, but immaculate vehicle. I am blessed. Thank you, Grandpa, for taking such good care of this unit. I know before it got to him, it wasn't the most taken care of unit, but sure as heck, when he got it, he definitely took good care of it, but he also drove her into the ground. Now, I don't know much about G-bodies? I think that's what this is. But there was a lot of frame flex when I was letting that down. But anyways, so we got her up in the air here. You could feel the bearings and all that. Oh, yeah, that's a good noise. A little up and down action, probably a ball joint. But we can feel the bearings, feel the resistance, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to look for a nail in this tire because these tires actually aren't in too bad a condition. Can't find the DOTs on them though. They must be on the other side of it. So get these wheels off, feel these bearings, and I'll give you guys a little status update on how she's doing. May I help you? What did I do to you? They come off like a charm. What? What do you want? Get about it. So something really interesting and worth noting about these, it says I'm new to older stuff, is that it's actually got these little ovaled out pieces that actually fit in the wheel a certain way. Ah, I see. So that helps with centering somehow, because these are like an oval. I'm guessing it's like a old school version of a multi-fitment wheel. Some of the oval pieces actually stuck inside the, yeah, mag wheels or whatever these are called. Oh yeah. Oh, sick. It's got a Cobra on it. Where's the DOTs? Right there. There's our DOTs. I think that is. I think 15th week of 2002. Not sure what the C28 means. I don't know. I don't think these are from 2002. But that's kind of cool. I've actually never seen a Cobra and Cooper Cobras, so. Radial GT. Are you scaring the chickens? Yeah. Well, upon taking these lugs off, I found out they're left-hand thread. See, look at that. Got her on Titan. I have that on my truck. My truck's rear differential's a Dana 70, but I did not think that applied to, well, just hubs in the front or anything. Yeah, look at that. I think it says L right on the stud there, so cool. The more you know. Got the wheels off. That looks cool. That's a thumbnail right there. Got the wheels off, and them brake lines, you know, they're there. I don't know if they're DOT approved, but it's a good thing Minnesota doesn't have road inspections. Anyways, those screws actually look pretty new, so I'm not too worried about that. But I'm still going to put some PB Blaster on that. I'm going to put it on this guy here in case, well, inevitably I should replace this actually. And just on all the places that it needs to go around here. But let's go check the passenger side and see how that is. Look at this fender well. Like, don't get me wrong, it's got surface rust, but it's not like it's rotted through or anything. Just gorgeous. You know, someone that lives in Minnesota, I'll take it. There's our professional battery tie down too. A little story behind these battery tie downs. My grandpa has an arsenal of these, and I've slowly been inheriting them. Half of them are in my truck. And the story behind them was, my grandpa, you know, grew up on a farm and became a police officer, but he never let anything go to waste. So that's where I get my hoarding from. But we have a whole bunch of these sitting around because my grandfather would always pick them up whenever they fell on the side of the road, whether he was on duty or when my grandma was, they were like going somewhere, going to town to get groceries. He'd make my grandma get out on the busy highway and go and grab these. And you know what? 30, 40, yeah, ooh, that's cool. 30, 40 years later, they're coming in really useful. So thank you, Grandpa. Now, I could be wrong here, but I think I heard somewhere that these T3 headlights, too, are kind of sought after, so cool. Guess I'm balling out. Let's take a look at this passenger side now. Yep, same upset, sad-looking rubber line. That's probably going to need to, you know, I thought this wasn't driven on gravel, but it really looks like it has been. So I should replace that. Probably not that much. And of course, the bleeder screw, if I can find it, right there. This one doesn't look as new, so that one gets me a little concerned. But the right side is the bump stops look pretty neat, so that's cool. And I guess while we're under here, how do the motor mounts look? I can't really see. Sure, looks good. All right. Got the rear end up in the air, and I can assure y'all, it's a posi. Guess I don't know much about these old rear ends on these Dodges, but it kind of reminds me of like a, feels like a mechanical locker. So that's interesting. Well, upon taking the driver's rear wheel off and spinning it, the exhaust hits the drive shaft. So that's good. That's what you want. It just it's like a preheater, but for your drive shaft, you know, to make sure all your clearances are in spec. And here's these glass packs here. Same story on that side. Bleeder screw. It's alright. Now I gotta get this guy off. Same story. Bleeder screw didn't look that bad. And it looks like the leaf spring shackles look pretty good too, so that's awesome. However, might have a gas leak somewhere. I did hear it does have a leak, and I do smell gas, but old cars also just smell like gas in general, so we'll see. You think they got enough clearance for the axle here? I don't know. They might be doing some wheeling with this or something. Well, found my 1/4" wrench. So I'm going to spray these off and then start cracking them loose. You always want to start at the side that's furthest away from the master cylinder and then work your way towards the master cylinder. It's the most efficient way to get all the air out of the system. And while that PB blaster's soaking in, let's take a look at these bearings here and see how they look. The wheel bearings seem fine, but got nothing else to do, so you might as well check them on out. Definitely one of the ball joints is sad, but wasn't horrible, so okay, one moment. Well, I just got the outer bearing out, and so far it looks good. Definitely could use a re-grease, but obviously I didn't feel any resistance or anything whatsoever on it when I was spinning the wheels, besides what the brakes were giving me, but so far a good bearing. Would you look at that? What is that? Made in USA. Timkins. So it's definitely an older flavor, that's for sure. They're not Koyos. Not that Koyos are bad, but got that USDM stuff. Looking inside the drums, you can definitely tell where the shoes kind of rested on there for a while. So I might have to turn that by braking going down the road and actually not taking any measurements right now because I'm lazy. Inner bearing, just vibing there. Gonna put a little grease on these this whole spindle here too, just to make sure it's all good. But it's really nice to see a old spindle like this and brake assembly without it rotted out on the bottom. It's all solid, you know. And who isn't to say that this isn't the original? But knowing how good this car was taken care of over the years, I mean, not perfect, but it's built in '66, so, you know, 34 plus 24, 60 years old, 60-year-old car that lived its life in the Rust Belt. Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, the shoes definitely got life in them. Don't know where this connects, so maybe right there. Something to consult the Google with. You know you live in the Rust Belt when you keep one of those on deck. Anyways, I found out where that little wire went. Just went around a little linkage that was right by the brakes. Herder, right there, that little cam boy. But anyways, I'm just gonna go ahead and spray everything off in here because inevitably I'm gonna have to be in here and tear stuff apart. I don't know when it'll be, but might as well do myself a favor now versus later. And some of this hardware, hopefully it stands up to the first couple hard brakes and doesn't explode on a fella, because that would be kind of awkward if that were to happen on public roads. All the other lines came off fine. Cracked loose easily, but I think it's because I used a bad wrench. And when I put the socket wrench on there, it busted off a lot nicer, but on the other ones, that I used a cheap little Hobo Freight special on here, and it just stripped this guy. So then I had to loosen this, and then the inevitable happened. It is what it is, though. And so it begins. Oh, I just love drum brakes. Oh, yeah. Honestly, all this could have been avoided if I just took the easy route and just, you know, put a socket wrench and just blasted that off instead of using a wrench. Because my wrenches are terrible, but here we are. So I'm kind of glad I took this off anyways, because it's so crusty in here. I can clean it up and paint it off, but I'm going to need to get me a cylinder, and I doubt they keep these in stock, so that stinks. I wanted to at least bleed the brakes tonight. and then see where the brake lines pop, so then I know where to go from there, but it is what it is. So I just got to back these two guys off on the back, throw this monstrosity back together, but hey, at least the springs didn't break, so, you know, got that going for us at least. The, oh, get on there. The automatic adjuster, this thing is taut, so see if I can grease this up and break this loose at least. But it is what it is. It's the name of the game. It's how these go. And, oh, that's what holds that. I gotta look into, too, why the parking brake doesn't work. Well, I'm gonna put a pin in the brakes for now because I need to order parts, so I might as well just get to the next best thing. And that's back to working on the carb here. So this has been sitting in here for like 2-3 days, taken apart. And I'll say it, I love soaking stuff in gas because it really cleans it up. I did this to the cylinder heads on my 351 and it just did wonders. So I'm gonna get these out and try not to get gas everywhere, and I'll get back to y'all. Alrighty, I just blew out these metering blocks? Not sure what they're called. I know that's a power valve and I know these are jets. But anyways, this is like a baffle for the vent. Cleaned them out. Not perfect, but I know they flow. This guy as well. I was able to identify that this is the primary side because of this connects to the distributor, I believe. Cleaned these out too. Shook these around. There's no fuel in the floats, so that's awesome. Tested the, what do you call these? Needle and seats, and they do the seating. And now I'm going up to the carburetor here, and I'm going to clean this guy off and blow out the passages as best as possible. And it's interesting, apparently these were made in Japan, so I didn't know that. Nihonshin kabureta desu. Alright, I'm sorry. You guys probably cringed hard. But, so yeah, just going to clean this guy up. I'm not going to bother breaking it apart anymore, but I just want to make sure that the actual whatchamacallits are good. Might clean up the accelerator pumps too a little bit, because the original problem, the only issue we had with this carburetor was that the primary side accelerator pump was leaking, and that might have just been a bad seal or it wasn't on tight enough. So we'll see. So clean this up, blow this out, and hopefully get this running tonight. Just installed the metering valve, and now I'm going to get the bowl on for the primary. But here I got the gasket. I'm just going to wet it up in some wheel bearing grease because it helps keep on these cork and paper gaskets. It rehydrates them, and then they like last forever. That's what I was doing to this base plate gasket right here too. Sadly, it's a aluminum spacer, so probably gonna be boiling fuel when I shut it off, but that's the way she goes. This is what I got. That's what I'm gonna work with. Gasket wetted up. Long screws on the bottom, short screws on the top. Well, unfortunately, my fears happened. So I got the accelerator pump working. And I guess it's kind of hard to do this one-handed. I just put a little fuel in the bowl, obviously, to get the pump pumping, and it's still leaking. So yeah, that diaphragm, I was looking at it, it looked like it had a little bit of a dry rot tear, and I can verify that it is. So I will need a new front accelerator pump, but that's really easy to do. So I'm just going to throw the rest of the carburetor together and get a new accelerator pump online and get this raring to go soon here. Now, little side quest waiting for parts. Let's see where we can find this leak. Ooh, bead leak. Yeah, and the reason that these wheels are so rusty is because the Tomcats would pee on them, which is unfortunate. But that's what happens when stuff gets parked up. I heard one of these wheels had a big bump in it, but I'm hoping that's not it and it's not cracked. But if it was cracked, it'd be leaking from the face of the wheel. So, yeah, just a bead leak. Might as well go around and spray the rest and see if there's anything else while I'm at it. But that shouldn't be too hard to fix. Neighbor's got a tire machine and a balancer, and he'll hook a guy up if I bring him some adult beverages. Parts came in. Let's get working on her. And here are some, but not all the parts I need. Fusible link, because I blew up the last one. Wheel cylinder, probably won't work. This guy, for that guy. And lastly, a fuel filter. Enough of this though. I want to hear this run more. And we have an accelerator pump. Let's throw her in and let her cheech. Hold in front there, you'll see those cracks. That's where it was leaking. There's a new Holly one in the back. Just got the carburetor bolted down. Just going to connect up a few things like the throttle linkage here. Going to drain out the fuel, hook up the choke line, and we'll be raring to go. Alright, got the carb on, choke linkage wired up, vacuum advance, etc. However, I still have more to do here. The fuel filter is on the side that goes after the fuel pump to the bowl. I don't want to suck any varnish and junk into the fuel pump because I plan on running this gas tank dry. I'm just going to keep feeding the bowl until the tank is empty. And I want to just flush it that way. So just have it dump gas out the fuel pump on the other side. So the problem with that obviously is it's unfiltered. So any junk and debris, if it doesn't clog the fuel line over here, it will clog up the fuel pump, and I don't want to get a new fuel pump. So just going to rig up this old filter here right before the fuel pump so that catches any debris on the way to said pump. Well, remember when I blew up the fusible link because of backwards colored cables? I'm just going to fix that now. So give me a little bit and then we can get to turning on this. And there she is, fusible link installed. Fortunately, insulation peeled off there, and I don't have shrink wrap small enough for that, but little electrical tape will be fine. Solid B+. Good morning. I got this all squared away now to pump the gas into the tank there so I can pump her dry and put some better gas in there. I'll just set you guys in the back here so you can get that cold start. Just manually feeding the bowl up here to keep her running. Just making my cocktail here. Just got some 40-to-1 mix in there and a little bit of this cleaning solvent just to really clear up any of that cholesterol that's built up in her veins. The rest of this I'll throw in the gas tank. Well, we got a little bit of a bottom end noise. Yeah, that's the glass pack rubbing. It's lathing on the drive shaft down, so I'm gonna have to put a wheel on there to fix that. You just eat up gas, don't you? Yeah, alright. Give you more juice. Fixed. No more leak at the accelerator pump. Worried about these guys leaking a little bit. Those O-rings seemed a little sad, but we will see. We will see. Well, time to go to the local bag gas dispensary. So I got a gallon above this stuff poured out, and it came out pretty clean. I remember I did dump a little bit of gas in the tank actually, so that could have something to do with it, but it came out pretty clean. That needle was towards east, so I got a good feeling it's empty, assuming that needle is accurate, or at least empty enough. But now we'll actually dump some 91 in there, because she only deserves the best of the fuels. Pre-smog, higher compression, America. So get that on in there and then get everything hooked back up under the hood so we can actually just get her to run indefinitely. I got her filled up, perhaps a little too filled up. Took about 10 gallons. Remember I dumped about 2 gallons in there, so originally there must have been like, math, 3.5 gallons in this tank while it was sitting. I remember some yellow gas came out of it when I first was getting things going. But anyway, she is good to turn over. Sadly, when I was testing the gauges earlier, turn her over an accessory. The cool thing is the coolant temp gauge works like a charm, but fuel gauge doesn't work, but I think I'll live. Got the vacuum gauge installed too, so we'll be able to tune the carburetor as she's running. It turns on so nicely though. So nicely. Unlike the horn. There we go. Well, that's not good. That definitely is a fluctuation in compression, and you can tell by the vibrations. She's definitely got a little bit of a wub. So that could be multiple things: broken rings, valves not sealing, just fluctuations in the vacuum that aren't smooth. But I'm going to give this engine the benefit of the doubt because it's been sitting a while. So hopefully we can get her to come back around. I did completely clean out the carburetor, so I don't think it's anything fuel feeding wise, but let's still tune her and just see how she does. It could be a misfire too, but I don't think she's misfiring. I might have found another problem. So I shut these needles all the way, and typically that would suffocate the carburetor. It's not like the secondaries in the back are really feeding her too much fuel. And it's still running. Poorly, but it's running. So I believe that means a bad power valve. But let me just demonstrate to you guys and turn her on here, even with those needles all the way in. See, it's still running. Not the nicest, but it's still running. So fuel is still getting by somewhere that is not being controlled. So, oh, now you work. So that is a problem. Not a big problem, but a problem. But on a brighter note, I got it really hot now, so it's really cleaned out all the debris in the engine. I'm going to drop that oil and just see how dirty it is and get some new oil in there. We'll let her run for a bit though. Let it still break up all that gunk inside the oil, so when I drop the oil and put new oil in, at least she'll have fresh oil. And she's been running for a while now, and I'm not hearing a lot of top end noise, so it's not like there's anything catastrophically wrong. I'm just hoping the valve seat's just a little grimed up with like some rust or something, and it'll come around hopefully. But I'm gonna dump some of that cleaner solvent down the app right there. Let her sit and soak. Hopefully it cleans up that carbon and hopefully stabilizes this a little bit. I tuned these needles to get at least a better idle by ear. I'm gonna get my tachometer tool on it though and see if it's accurate with the one by the shifter. Got the tachometer dwell meter hooked up. Says it's just shy of 1,000 RPM. Let's check inside. And we're looking at just above 1,000, so she ain't perfect, but she'll do. Maybe just some bad electrical connections, but not worried about that at the moment. I'm gonna drop her down to about 750. That seems about right. Sounds a lot better too. First try, you can tell I'm getting good at this. I got her idling a little better. Now let's look at the timing. And as luck would have it, the timing mark lined up just perfectly for me. Just gonna mark it with the Sharpie pen marker, yes, and get the timing light on it and set it to about 12.5 degrees, because after reading on the forums for about 30 seconds, that's what everyone was saying you should use. And forums are always trustworthy. Always trust the internet, kids. Well, I got it shining down there and it's kind of hard to see, but she's slightly on the advanced end. So I'm gonna twist that distributor a little bit and see where I can get her. I tested the actual vacuum advance pop by just sucking on that hose there, and I did hear the idle pickup, so at least we know that works. I got her set to the right timing now, but now I got to adjust the idle and twist the screws. It's all a part of the tango of tuning a carbureted vehicle, and honestly that is why I love them. Yeah, unfortunately that hopefully valve hasn't cleared up yet, so it's making it kind of hard to tune, but I'd say it's idling fine enough. And that leaking power valve, I suppose, in the back is not making my life easier because it just kills it. So At least I can get some things done, like drain that oil. But let's dump that Berryman down it, let it just sit and soak, then fire her up, grab the snot out of her. Hopefully that'll clean up the valve, and if not, well, we'll just see what happens. Well, that's not good. Maybe I got her a little too flooded. Hear that? Fuel ain't combusting where it's supposed to combust, and I know my timing isn't too back, so I'm guessing a valve ain't opening or something, but we'll see. Right now I'm just letting her warm up a little bit more so I can drain the oil and get some new oil in her, because she's due for some. Alrighty, let's get her dropped. God knows how long this oil's been in here. Oh yeah, water consistency and smells like old gas. That's how you know it's good, because no, it's terrible. Wow. It is hot, so that does make it more runny. And look at that old Napa filter down there. You know it's cool when it has surface rust on it. And even this oil filter, it's coming off real nice, like not a lot of effort. See, why can't everything in life be like this? Yeah. Gonna be putting this stuff inside there because it has a high zinc content, and these are supposed to have like a 1500 parts per million zinc content, and this has a 1200, so close enough. I get it by the bucket because it's cheaper, and I go through 1540 like crazy because, you know, I got my truck too. And then I get a free bucket out of it in the end, and I can't have enough buckets around here. Well, I ain't gonna lie, I feel pretty dumb. So this was the carburetor. I had my 351, and I'm like, well, I got an accelerator pump on here. Granted, I don't know how big, if that's a 30cc or 50cc or whatever. I got accelerator pump on here. I got a power valve, blah, 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 blah. So just going to scavenge some of the parts off of this and move it over to that carb, and hopefully that cleans up some of my issues that I'm having. Hey guys, it's the next day. I'm going to remove the bowl here in the metering block and take a look at that power valve and those needle and seats. Maybe the needles themselves are actually buggered up, but we'll see what I can scavenge from my parts carburetor to put on this, and also see what kind of power valve is in this. It wouldn't surprise me though if the power valve's bad, because obviously she's old. Well, I just got her all taken apart, and I blew on this diaphragm and there's no holes, so I guess next we'll have to check the secondary side. These needles look pretty good too. Usually I'm used to seeing brass ones, but these are actually, well, they could be brass plated, but whatever. That's besides the point. So I'm just gonna lightly hit them up on with a wire brush and install everything back together. Maybe give a little bit of a cleaning and then check the secondary side. Just kind of recording this for later documentation, but upon looking on here, looks like it says 957 and like a 0 on the bottom. So that seems like a pretty high vacuum for me, but I don't know much about these yet. So I'll just get it back on in there and then go check the secondary side. You know, second thought, I think that says 6.5 actually, which would make a little bit more sense, but kind of curious as to what the other numbers mean. Well, taking it off here, and honestly I think this is fine, because when I dumped out that bowl, there was still yellow old fuel in there, which is implying fuel wasn't flowing through, so might have a stuck valve somewhere, but we'll see. Got it here, might as well take a look at it, and at least I can figure out what kind of a power valve it is. Yep, as I suspected. Blew on it. No leakage. All resistance, so fortunately I think we're going to have to take them valve covers off and start whacking valves with a mallet. And I ripped the felt. Screwing it on down. But that's what you expect when you have these gaskets sit for a long time, so I'll have to order a rebuild kit for it. And worst comes to worst, I could always test start it on this. I just need a cheap $20 eBay adapter, so I might go that route just to hear it run. But for now, that carb needs a full rebuild. I should have did it to begin with, but you live and you learn. Okay, so I'm still stumped at what that pinging was if both the power valves are good. something. So it's just telling me it's like a knock, you know. It could be a valve sticking, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna pop these valve covers off anyways because I'd like to see the condition of the engine and just make sure them valves are valving up and down, and vacuum this off a little bit too so none of that debris actually falls in my valve train. She was stuck on there and I had to give her a little persuading with the old mallet, but yeah, I'd reckon she's a little dirty under there. Oh yeah, from the days of conventional oil. But we'll bring her back around. Obviously, we're more here for the push rods and valves, so let's just keep her going. Got the passenger side off. She was pretty dirty, but I guess this actually is a feature. I didn't know they had Bluetooth push rods back in the day, so that might explain a few reasons as to why I was shooting massive flames out the carburetor. Alright, just, you know, a little fishing. Kind of hard to fish out metal when everything's metal. Oh, it's not Bluetooth. Alright, my bad, guys. Surprisingly, this push rod ain't really bent up. I just don't know what happened. Do these just pop out? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. Let's just make sure that this valve does valve things, I guess. So on a brighter note, we figured out what our problem was. Wasn't power valves or, you know, anything else real simple. It was the fact that a valve wasn't opening, and that would explain why the fluctuations were happening, but everything looks fine. So I'm just gonna do my due diligence, inspect everything, and if everything looks fine, just throw this back in there and turn it a little bit, and if she's good, she's good. Hopefully I didn't risk wiping a cam at all if this got stuck a little bit, but you know what, we're just gonna find out. Just getting ready to pop this off here just to get that one push rod installed, but this way I'll be able to hammer on all them valves more properly and whatnot. Who knows, I might be the first person that's taken this off in 60-ish years. Yep, there's our issue. I actually noticed it on the cylinder down as well. So we have a collapsed lifter. And looking down in there, you can actually see a little bit of the difference. The left has a little bit more of a ridge going down versus the right, so she ain't lifting. Hopefully we didn't wipe the cam. On a brighter note though, this is a project, and I love projects, especially ones that drag on. So we'll see what's going to go on here, and I'll see what I'm going to get myself into. I might try and get those to come around by just tapping on them a little bit, but if I can't, it is what it is, and I'll have to do what I have to do to bring her back around. Pretty cool though, because now I can actually see the casting marks on this and learn what cylinder heads are on this unit and see if it's an original or not, because supposedly this isn't the original engine, but who knows. And I'm just realizing here, it was the exhaust side where the push rod decided to fly off the collapsed lifter. So that would explain why my intake was becoming the exhaust, because there was no place for it to go. So away she goes. Going back on my collapsed lifter theory, I'm not exactly sure yet. Obviously there's something wrong with this cylinder here, but it could be the way that the cam's actually positioned. I have limited experience actually working on pushrod V8s, but I can name stuff. But anyways, I'm gonna keep looking deeper into that. I'm gonna pop the plugs out, and then I'm gonna just turn the engine over and see which actual lifters are moving and which ones aren't, and then that'll help me more determine if I actually do have a collapsed lifter or not. I'm also just going around and lightly tapping every valve. And I have springiness on all of them, some more than others. This one tends to have a little bit more resistance, but that's kind of uniform with everything. Some have more than others, so I'm not too concerned about it. Probably different spring load rates on the exhaust versus intake, but all the valves are moving, so that's good. Well, to help gauge the age of everything, I just pulled the spark plug out of cylinder 1 where the exhaust valve was an opening, and it is an old AC spark plug. And I just looked it up because obviously AC is now AC Delco. AC merged with AC Delco in 1974, so these plugs have been in there for a hot minute. 26 plus 24, that is 50 years. Oh my gosh. They were still working too, so that is definitely something to hang on the shelf for a Christmas ornament. Maybe a paperweight. If I can do it. There. Already got the rocker shaft on, just gotta torque it down. I think I just over revved it, and that's how it was able to float and spit out that push rod, but you know, just learned my lesson and I'm not gonna do that again. I'm glad I got these off though, because it really helps you know the condition of this engine. And yeah, she's sad, she's gonna need some love, but she'll probably be fine. Famous last words. But anyways, after I get all these on, I obviously can't get it running, but I got the plugs out, so I might as well do a compression test on this old girl and see what she says. So I got her running pretty hot and pretty long, so at least I know if there's any seized rings, they've definitely broken apart or hopefully just released by now. Alright guys, back to working on the Coronet. I've had about a 2-week hiatus from it because I've had other stuff pop up that I need to take care of. But now we're back on track and the parts have came in. I got all brand new brake lines. I got a new remanufactured single pot of death. I got new brake cylinders. I got valve cover gaskets and some. I got the rebuild kit for the Holley carb. So I'm just going to get right back to working on this, and I am going to start with doing the brake lines. I'm not going to record doing that too much though, because this is like the least fun part of all of it. But I will say, removing this guy is going to be a royal pain. And let me show you guys why. That's why. I gotta remove all those nuts back there with all this dash and whatnot in the way. So I'll get back to you guys once I get all the brake lines in. Master cylinder in. Now on to the brake lines. Might as well rebuild the carburetor too, because that is in dire need of it. And look at this. Just from it sitting, see that needle there? Just catches. They make kits for this stuff where you can like change the seats or whatever, but that is ethanol for you folks. And that's why when you whack it with your Leatherman, see there it goes now, that drops and you get fuel. And that's what worked on this actually when I first got it running. Working on the last brake line here, and then it's off to bleeding them. Things are finally getting somewhere. Well folks, the time has finally come. I got all the brake lines tucked on up in. Gonna start bleeding the brakes. I'm gonna get this started. I'm gonna pull it out of the garage and drive it for the first time in 10, 20, whatever years. This was parked in 2014 and it wasn't really driven much since then. Before then, I think this was last like driven every other weekend in the 90s, so this is sort of a revival slash getting out of retirement because the economy's that bad kind of thing going for this. So let's get to working on it. Another thing that's goofy about this is it's like a different wrench on every corner. It's like this is a 7, and up here this is a like an 8. That's a 1/4 inch. Now I think I'm starting to figure these little pieces out here. So you see these little washers that are offset inside these lugs? I think this is just how they did get multi-offset wheels back in the day. Like see how the bolts are actually ovaled? And I'm guessing different ways of how this is flipped around or whatever determines the actual bolt pattern that the wheel is. And it's also a pain to work with. Gosh, these are just the most annoying thing to work with. Especially when the sun's going down, I want to drag this before the end of the day here. Can't rush though. That's how you screw things up. Ask me how I know. Look at the tractor out there. There's a reason it can't move, and that's because the loader's stuck down, because someone decided to screw up the $400 valve sleeve. That's okay. I got a $100 one on eBay, so it all worked out. So just go on there. Hand thread propaganda. There we go. Good enough. Yep. You know how these old rigs go. Lefty tighty. Not righty. On the left side, that is. Gosh dang it, that's the worst part. Alright, this is a two-hand job. Here she is, ready to go on her first drive, and goodness knows how long. Got the air gun too, because that left rear leaks, but I got her overfilled. I think my girlfriend's staring at me out the window, so let's give her a little rip down the road. Top up now, just easing her up and down the road, getting a feeling for her quirks, but I will say that is another beautiful Midwest upset, if I do say so myself. Feeling a little bit of a misfire on the low end. She prefers more high-end action, but she's warming up. Third gear grinds a little bit when you saw me passing my lady there. Banging into it, but I also haven't changed the fluids in the trans and differential in this yet, so probably get to doing that pretty soon here. And remember, we wear seat belts so we can be safe, if they work. Oh, and how can I forget? I need to put the chickens away. I'm doing a little off-roading here across the yard. Oh, that's a treat. I'm I'm coming, chickens, don't worry. Oh, they're probably gonna be mad. Let's see. Oh yeah, they're mad. I know, I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming. Oh, your water's outside too. Why'd you hop out? Y'all need to go to bed. Gosh, now I know how my parents felt. And there we have it, folks. Coronet back on the road for the first time in 10 years, and soon it'll be back on the road seriously for the first time in like 30 plus. Like I said, it was the early 90s where they really stopped driving this and drove the Cadillac Eldorado more. Well, now she's warm. Let's see if we can throw that push rod off again. Yeah, we're definitely misfiring on a cylinder, but that's alright. I'm not that worried about it. We can fix that. Well, considering it was backfiring out both tailpipes, maybe that might be something a little different than just one cylinder misfiring, but I'm not that worried about it. You see, these spark plug wires are original. I don't know about original, but they're pretty old. So this was resprayed once in the front, and that must have been at least 90s, 80s, maybe 70s. And there's gold overspray on these spark plug wires. So, you know, that's telling me that those wires could be anywhere from 50 to 30 years old. So, and I was looking at the points too, and the cap needs a whole ignition system rebuild, but now we know it runs and drives, and that is pretty awesome. Oh, and how can I forget? Gotta lock these guys up too. Good morning. Now, will she start, or is she still gonna be ornery? Let's see here. You'll never catch me in shorts, by the way. All right. Especially in Grandpa's car, he hated shorts. Well, let's start. I don't gotta choke. Tractor battery hooked up. See if we get ignition. Oh yeah, she liked that. No gas. Well, it shows the alternator's charging, but I want to double check that with the multimeter. Charging, but kind of slow. Those alternator bearings are what making that whining noise, by the way, so wouldn't surprise me if she's on the way out. She's probably original, or at least close to it. Yes, she still has the authentic barn find dust. Leaving that on there until I get this running right. Now that we got her out here though, let's just take a little walk in the daylight while she's running. Because, you know, looking at a car when it's running versus when it's not running, it's totally different. It's fine. As we can hear, it still has some running issues where it's kind of stumbling on its face. I did check the points on it and they did look pretty corroded. I tried sanding them off with my Leatherman a little bit, but hasn't really done too much. Same for the cap and rotor. And the spark plug wires are at least 30 years old, so something tells me a combination of weak spark at higher RPM along with it when it just gets warm. I think it just vapor locks, because you saw that aluminum spacer on there and that gets hot. So I think that's our issue, and that would explain the extra fuel getting and why it was backfiring yesterday. So in another video, I will replace the wires and the points and the cap and rotor and see if that fixes our spark issue, because so far our voltage hasn't really been too big of a problem besides that alternator. Before this never really had problems with the battery dying, but we had the headlights on yesterday and that alternator might not be able to keep up, and I honestly don't blame it because she's pretty old. But anyways, so this is the new chapter on my grandfather's Coronet. I'm just going to be taking it up and down the road here a little bit during the day, just so we can really drink it in during the day versus when the sun's setting, and then I think I'll wrap up the video here. How's our leaking tire doing? Oh, that's fine. You know, I could see why they lay back in the rap videos, because these seats just go way on back. Like, I feel like I'm a baller. But I do not wish I was taller. I'm happy with where I'm at. The steering on this reminds me of my tractor. It's just the way that, how you be turning, and then you come around the corner and you still turn too much and you got to correct it quick. And speaking of correcting things, I don't think the hood shut all the way. That is an issue. When me and my lady were cruising up and down the road yesterday, it did pop up a little bit and really puckered me up. So let's go fix that. Why did they ever get rid of these? These are awesome. I like to call them the elf ears. Well, unfortunately, the speedometer really doesn't work, but it's not necessarily something I'm not used to, so I'll take a look at that on a later video. Well, y'all, this is a story to tell right about now. That's really hot. I'm not going to touch that. On my grandpa's Coronet. I'm going to continue to work on this more on the channel because why not? I like documenting something that means a lot to me, and this is a family heirloom. And also, it seems like you guys like it too, at least in some of the shorts I posted. So if you guys haven't, please like, comment, and subscribe. You don't have to. Honestly, before I was a YouTuber, I kind of got annoyed when folks said that because I don't like asking for things, but I'm a small channel and the come up, so it'd be really appreciated. But if not, that's okay. I totally get it. It's not like there's already not enough guys out there on YouTube. Love them all that are already doing what I'm doing. But I like to make videos working on old cars, newer cars. I'm into racing my 92 Honda Civic. Just got a tractor. Maybe a farm on the come up, we'll see here, but I appreciate you guys watching my video and watching a piece of family history with me, and you guys have a great rest of your day. Now I gotta go to a wedding, so y'all keep an eye on the Coronet for me. Make sure the chickens don't go in.